change
Yes.
in as far as the fuel prices are concerned. We are not out of the woods yet. And this is why. Looking in general, or rather from an economic point of view, is that taxes and levies make up almost half of the final price. So this month, government decided to go after the importer's margin, or what I've called marketer's margin.
Yes.
Who last month were making a kill of around 12 shillings and 38 cents per litre. So with this adjustment, or rather, this remaining the same, the price is remaining constant for this month, they're taking home 4 shillings and 44 cents per litre in terms of profit. So now, whether or not, and this is a fact, whether the landed cost of petroleum goes down or up, the prices have always been going up. Why? I mentioned, or rather alluded earlier, to the pricing formula. And remember, this was reviewed by Parliament in 2018, if I'm not so wrong, and we introduced some levies. Remember, even the law was put in place to just cushion Kenyans from high fuel prices. And Kenyans have been asking us questions when we've had the COVID-19 disruptions and there was, less demand, so the prices came down internationally. How come this was not factored in the prices of fuel? And it was after quite some noise there on social media, to say the least, as well as mainstream media, that we saw a change in some of these prices, somewhat coming down to the 90s, 97, 100 shillings. But now we're back to 121. Now, to Caesar, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. So fuel is a low-hanging fruit, and authorities will always be quick to grab any opportunity that lessens the task of financing of a bloated budget. That being the case, we already have an IMF loan, and we're going to be receiving some monies towards the end of June. 79 billion shillings. Some of the proposals that have come with this IMF loan there is, austerity measures, government to go back to austerity measures. Let me take you back to 2013, when we found ourselves in a similar situation, and VAT was introduced to fuel at 16%. Public outcry, President Uhuru Kenyatta pulled a populist move and reduced it to 8 shillings. Yeah? So now, we may have a reprieve in April. What is going to happen next month after government has promised that oil marketers are going to be compensated for what happened yesterday? As you ponder on that, questions have been asked. Why is the government driving Kenyans, to some great pains, slapping fuel with additional taxes? Experts say fuel is used across board. It's a low-hanging fruit, and it brings in revenue. So we are not out of the woods. And I'd want to quote tax expert Nikhil Hira, who says, "A car is no longer a luxury in Kenya. Once you get the vehicle, you tend to use it. So you have to use it. The state knows that you have no choice." Here's a detailed report of what happened and the new fuel prices that we have.
Last year, in efforts to cushion Kenyans from high prices whenever the cost of imported refined products steadily increases. In its latest monthly pump price review, the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority indicated that despite the shilling marginally strengthening against the dollar by 0.04%, the landed cost of refined product had increased. EPRA indicated that the landed cost of diesel was up by 4.77%, kerosene increased by 7.29%, while super petrol was up by a massive 9.27%. However, EPRA announced that the pump prices would remain unchanged without giving the reason behind the decision. However, there have been calls from Kenyans for EPRA to implement the Petroleum Stabilization Fund to cushion fuel buyers from high prices. There is a likelihood that EPRA has done this. The retained fuel prices means that fuel would be cheapest in Mombasa, where a litre of super petrol will retail at 120 shillings and 41 cents, diesel at 105 shillings and 27 cents, and kerosene sell at 95 shillings and 46 cents. In Nairobi, a litre of super petrol will retail at 122 shillings and 81 cents, diesel at 107 shillings and 66 cents, and kerosene sell at 97 shillings and 85 cents. Fuel would be most expensive in Mandera, where a litre of super petrol will retail at 135 shillings and 85 cents, diesel at 120 shillings and 70 cents, and kerosene sell at 110 shillings and 88 cents. In Mombasa, residents welcome the new prices and urge the government to consider ways of reducing the prices further.
Tuko tumesikia mafuta itapanda, hata leo nimeweka karibu full tank, lakini kama imebaki hapo basi, lakini tulikuwa expectation kuwa itashuka.
Government checks on and take some measures to cut down the prices a little so that we don't affect people, considering we have the pandemic with us.
Benson Rioba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Well, those are sentiments shared there by Kenyans, including one that I'm going to read out here by Samuel Maura, who is a tax expert, who reckons that the government might have done a lifestyle audit and realized that Kenyans will always drive their cars. And he says Kenyans keep buying cars despite the increase in prices of fuel, sending the wrong message to the government. However, prices of certain products have become inelastic when there are no alternatives. And alternatives of fuel-powered cars would be electric ones or a reliable, organized public transport system. But these options do not exist. That is a thing of that is where we are now. Nikhil Hira also further says that we are not necessarily encouraging the use of renewable kind of cars, and in the end, the government sees taxing fuel as a very easy way to drive revenue. And even if the VAT was to be standardized to 16%, Kenyans will still use cars. Taking us back to the 2013 situation there. However, economist Joy Kiru, an economics lecturer at the University of Nairobi, says the government's move in targeting fuel prices is not sustainable. And she says she likens this situation with the government to greed, milking a cow without feeding it, and it will eventually die. One will not have a problem paying taxes if you see something coming out of it. Doreen.
From the fuel prices there and the reprieve for Kenyans, how about we now move to what is still happening at the Judicial Service Commission, and this is in regards to the interviews that are happening today, being day 4, where Honorable Judge Marete Njagi is expected to appear before the commission there for his interview. And this also comes at a time when, of course, this particular process began on Monday with Justice Chitembwe being the first one, and yesterday we saw Justice Koome appearing before the commission. And part of what came through is that a case relating to the 2017 repeat presidential election came back to haunt Justice Martha yesterday after she was asked to explain why a bench she was part of issued orders in the dead of the night and in the absence of one party. Now, even as this is happening, still there's a complainant or a litigant who yesterday lodged a complaint with Judicial Service Commission, and this was to oppose the candidature of 2 individuals shortlisted for the position of Chief Justice. The complainant is Dennis Kang'ethe Itui, and he has petitioned the commission not to appoint Court of Appeal judge, that is William Ouko, and lawyer Philip Murgor for the top position on grounds that they misused their previous offices. And as the former registrar of High Court, Justice Ouko, and the former DPP misused their former offices. That is what Dennis Kang'ethe further on continued to say. And in his letter, he claimed that the two had twin role of taking sides in his land dispute case number 2119 of 2001, and Kang'ethe also accuses Justice Ouko of presiding over his case diary and changing the hearing dates of his land case to multiple judges before eventually referring the matter to Justice Andrew. This also comes at a time, in as much as he is presenting that particular complaint, comes at a time when Philip Murgo is expected to appear before the commission on Friday, which is the 16th of April. That is the day after tomorrow, and Justice Ouko expected to appear before the same panel on 21st of April, which is next week on Wednesday. And again, also with a lot of focus being on this particular justice, that is is Willie Ouko, simply because he's also being termed as one of those vocal judges, being that he also put pressure on the president to appoint the 41 judges, 10 of whom were supposed to sit in the Court of Appeal. So as far, this article also continues to highlight perhaps what it might, all this means and what all this pertains, even as we await for Marete Njagi to appear before the panel as from 9, and also try to see if at all, these complaints which are being given by Kenyans here and there, that particular one being Dennis Kang'ethe, and also the other day we saw a section of family members of Philip Murgo still issuing different kind of complaints in regards to the same lawyer. So these are also some of the things that we'll continue to see how they will pan out as we await to see if at all they will appear before this commission, regardless of the complaints that are being put forth. Victor.
Right. So let's continue with the Star newspaper. And I was telling you, there is jittery in the Wiper party, and of course the newly formed All Kenya Alliance, alliance that is, after Kalonzo said that there's some jittery in terms of who is going to take about the lineup, and now barely a month after the alliance was formally unveiled, now reports indicate that there are reports that push to settle on a specific preferred lineup has triggered an ease that could jolt its 2022 plans. Now, there are claims that some influential forces are keen on pushing on Musalia and Gideon Moi's presidential ticket. Now, this will have this effect. This would relegate Kalonzo and Wetangula from the nerve center of the power. Now, the power balance will leave Kalonzo Musyoka with only one position. That's the post of the Prime Minister. If the Building Bridges Initiative referendum, which proposes an expanded executive, sails through. So barely a month after the alliance was formed, already there are jitters on who is going to take what position and on the lineup ahead of the 2022 general election. So we had our political analyst yesterday but one, and they said that there's still going to be a lot of push and shove and on what is going to happen even as the country approaches 2022, and many alliances are going to be formed, and many politicians are going to be friends again, and some are going to be enemies. So it's going to be a matter of interest. And still on that, Raila men who Kibwana in plot to tame Wiper boss, and this as they met, some of the Raila Odinga men had a meeting yesterday with the Makueni governor, that is Professor Kivutha Kibwana, in a ploy to woo him to join ODM leader Raila Odinga. And Kibwana said that he has no any problem working with Raila Odinga, but still we'll have to have a sit down with members of the party. He doesn't work alone, and he'll have to have a wider consultation on that before making a concrete decision. The issue of petrol has been dealt with, and that is that. And now, still on politics, ODM now says that there is no deadline for presidential ticket. That's according to Mbadi, who is the ODM chairman. He now says that the March 31st deadline is no longer viable, and he says that the early deadline had been announced by the National Elections Board, but now in that deadline, during that deadline only, Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho submitted his credentials, and his Kakamega counterpart Wycliffe Oparanya also made his application. So that is something that is still opening more windows and doors for anybody who is willing to vie for the presidential ticket on an ODM ticket, for them to make an application and submit the requirements as required by the party.
I want us to just take a look at what has been happening, in matters of politics there that you've mentioned there, Victor.
Yes.
In a nutshell, jitters with the Wiper party faction. We've been seeing people meeting different people. And let's say, is it an alliance or a dalliance? Well, we will see. 2022 is just but around the corner. Now, for Amani Congress party leader Musalia Mudavadi has downplayed, the recent meeting between ODM leader Raila Odinga, KANU chairman Gideon Moi, and Mohoho Kenyatta. He says Kenyans should not read so much into that. Here's a detailed report by Suleiman Yeri.
Tuesday's meeting between Raila Odinga and Gideon Moi and Mohoho Kenyatta has ignited a series of debate over the 2022 political matrix. However, ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi has moved to quiet the hullabaloo.
If we want to make a pronouncement about an alignment or whatever, I will speak publicly to it and say we have been having consultations in the background. We have reached a stage where we want to make certain things public.
Mudavadi, who has expressed interest in the presidency, has been marshalling support from like-minded politicians in a bid to boost his influence in the 2022 succession politics.
Tumesaidia wengi muda mrefu. Sasa we also have a legitimate expectation and demand for others that we have supported to support us. They only will support us if we stand together.
Elsewhere, division continues to rock the Luo Nyanza region as two factions of the Luo Council of Elders continue to read from different scripts over the region's political direction. Luo Council of Elders, led by Keri Nyandiko Ogandi, has urged the Luo community to allow entry of more political parties in the region currently dominated by ODM.
Watu wetu bila naweza kuwa na chama mingi sio mbaya. Sisi nakisa kuwa na chama yetu ingine hapa Nyanza, lakini chama yetu hiyo siwezi kuwa moja tu bila chama ingine naunganisha na yeye.
Meanwhile, Narok area woman representative Soipan Kudate has stepped up campaigns for the county's gubernatorial race.
Nimejitwika katika uwanja wa kuwania gavana wa Narok. Na kama kuna wale wamekuwa na doubt, nafikiri leo wataweza kujua ya kwamba niko miongoni mwa wanaume, kwa sababu sijasikia mama mwingine ambaye amejitwika kwa uwanja wa ugavana.
Kudate is the first female leader to openly declare her interest in the seat. Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
Education now, where more than 20 people have so far been arrested across the country, and this is for exam irregularities after they were detected using security features on the KCSE papers. The education CS, that is George Magoha, has said that these suspects were nabbed at various exam centers after their tricks were detected using the special security features. He, however, also warned that the numbers may rise if unscrupulous officials expose the remaining papers before the scheduled time. But in different areas in which this officials have been arrested include areas in Garissa, Homa Bay, Mandera, Kisii, and Kisumu. Also in the same area in Homa Bay, a secondary school teacher from this is the Homa Bay County was also yesterday arrested in court, faced with charges of masterminding exam irregularities in the ongoing cases. This is just part of what the ministry is trying to do, at least to curb exam cheating, given the fact that there was a lot of fears, especially as it pertains to the same, and again also coming at a time when the KCSE is expected to end on April 21st. So still they are still out in a bit to ensure that that these exams are done in the most safe way possible and to do away with any issues of exam malpractices as well as exam cheating.
Now talking about exam cheating, and to just get details into regard to what the education CS is going to do in regard to that matter, Professor Magoha himself warned of stern action against this particular culprits. The number stands at 20 so far. And he went further to assure the stakeholders that the credibility of the exams has not been compromised. What's your take? Kamche Menza has details.
Cases of attempts by examination officials, among them invigilators, exam center managers and supervisors, to access the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations with a view of exposing the papers to candidates, continue to be recorded in some parts of the country. While monitoring the progress of the ongoing exams at Kenya High School, Nairobi, Education Cabinet Secretary Professor George Magoha expressed disappointment that some officials are determined to mislead learners.
We are talking about over 20 people, but the number will continue because when we find that last week they arrested one of the masterminds in Suba, it means there's another one somewhere, but we are going to be very closely watching.
According to the Cabinet Secretary, the contents of the exam papers are exposed after 6 a.m. once they are released to schools.
One of who this morning gave me a heads up that has led to us trailing, and you will hear that we have arrested the culprit where agriculture paper, is it paper 1 or paper 2? Paper 1. Paper 1. Was exposed at about, was it 8:30? At 8:36 in the morning.
However, Professor Magoha was categorical that the credibility of the exam is intact as the exposed questions were never accessed by the candidates.
I want to reassure the nation that the exam has not leaked, because leakage means that the exam becomes public much, much longer than before it is ready to be done. You can see that the few culprits, most of who have now been arrested, are going to pay for the consequences.
The first batch of candidates completed their exams on 12th April, and the rest are expected to conclude by 21st of this month. Professor Magoha says transport logistics for candidates are in place amid movement restrictions in 5 counties. A total of 752,891 candidates are sitting the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examination. Kamche Menza for Channel 1 News.
As we continue monitoring the national examinations, the crew here takes a short breather. We'll be right back.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye Quickbit ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CA. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka kwenye Quickbit ni bila bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Without their permission, without their blessings, no good deed can ever be successful.
God now belongs to the priests.
The throne of Magad is waiting for you.
The mother wasn't from a royal family.
She was the daughter of a physician only. I am trying to protect your honor here, and you are speaking ill about my mother.
You are staining my mother's character!
Next on.
Determined not to miss out on the opportunity to capture the night shift factories.
We cannot show our appreciation more.
Next on.
Naanza kujiganda, kujipiga kifua, akidharau kina mama.
Twanga mtu, kabisa. Twanga mtu iko nini?
Ulizo unatwanga nani? Sina kuongelesha wewe. Ile mtata hapa kiamka. Ndio bwanangu tu ni kumfuatafuata saa yote. Kama huyu Zoe wampenda sana, ungeenda umbuku maternity. Tumeelewana?
Usije kuuliza maji hapo tuletee balaa bure.
Na waingia wapi? Nenda mkamalizane.
Mara ngapi ninakwambia kuja hapo kwetu na sumba sitangu. Umekuja kuharibu. Kwa hivyo hata una class.
Tabia kama hizo ni bwana.
And welcome back. This is Good Morning Kenya on KBC Channel 1. Let's continue taking a look at some of the stories making headlines on our local dailies. And the prime suspect in Kiambaa family murder in court, and he is fit for trial. That is Lawrence Simon Warunge is fit for trial. Let me just give you a brief on what's there. The trial of Lawrence Warunge, the main suspect in the murder of 4 of his family members and their farmland, will start today at the Kiambu Law Court. Now, Warunge will be expected to take plea today after he murdered his family members on January 9th. Now, Kiambu Chief Magistrate Patricia Gishohi said that the 22-year-old is now fit to stand trial after Mathari Mental Hospital gave a psychiatric report. So that case is going to commence today at the Kiambu Law Courts, Magistrates Courts, where he will take a plea today. All right. Of course, we all know that the curfew, the dusk to dawn curfew, will run until May 29th. That is according to CS Dr. Fred Matiang'i. So make sure that you follow the guidelines given by the government. Now, let me turn to sports. And sports funds. Athletics Kenya have promised to facilitate as many athletes as possible to various events locally and abroad in a bid to increase their prospects of qualifying for the Tokyo Olympics. Now, AK President Jackson Tuwei said that the federation will register Kenyans and Kenyan athletes hoping to qualify the Olympics into various international events amid suspension of sporting activities in the country. Now, this is a good news for various sports events and various activities, whether javelin, we have got athletics, we have got discus, and so many disciplines in the sports arena. And therefore now AK says that they are going to do much to ensure that they register many Kenyans as much as possible to take part in the Tokyo Olympics. And now to Neymar fans who are supporters of PSG, Neymar says that his contract at the PSG, actually, as far as he's concerned, is nothing to talk about. He has penned his contract. Remember that PSG made a whopping and a world record 222 million euros in 2017 to bring Neymar from La Liga giants, that is Barcelona. And Neymar now says he's at home at PSG, and therefore he is staying. And Arteta says Arsenal fans like me. Yeah. I know. It's... did I just have to sit with a Man U fan next to me? A new Man U fan in the building? Okay, I know we I
asked you, Victor. Mm-hmm. Arsenal fans, mnatoanga wapi nguvu? You know, where do you get the energy? You're always losing. When was the last time you actually had silver?
Let me sit
being
back.
An Arsenal fan should be included in the how many ways to die.
1,000 ways to die. Unless you have a spare brain, a spare heart, a spare liver.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
I wonder even how you don't suffer from, you know, blood pressure issues.
I told you
the whole game
we are Arsenal fans since 19 BC, before Christ.
Loyal fans.
Yes, and the situation here is, you know, Arsenal fans were just special.
Nisawa, but
we are special.
That there we agree.
Yes.
On that one we agree.
We have everything double brain, double hearts. I mean, extra.
You're special in that way because you are so much. You know, you're into loss. So until my recent support of
for Man U,
Manchester United,
which you joined last week.
You know, nearly accept last week. Where's the journey? They started wooing me at what point?
You're equally special.
The wooing started a long time ago. I just accepted last week on condition that they continue winning. I don't like losing. Well, I don't have a spare heart. And siwezi shinda nimekaza kwa game. And that's why Gor Mahia has been my team.
Good.
Locally, good. You know. Tukishindwa kwa kiwanja.
Kamata uzito,
tutapatana pale.
Kamata uzito.
Kwa nini?
At the end of the day, there's no loss.
Yes. Where? Show me a loss for Gor Mahia.
No.
You remember, even there was a time we were charged to repair some stadia, whatever. Did you hear us complain, Doreen?
No,
watu wa Ingwe. We know you're Ingwe. Keep seated there.
Yeah.
We know you. Watu wa Inghoho.
The Semejis.
Actually, we are replacing you guys with maybe Tusker FC because there is no thrill
Yes.
When we meet for the derby.
I think Ingwe has been suffering of, I don't know, there's so much that is happening, the managerial point, but Ingwe is an amazing club. We all know that. We all know that.
He's trying to be politically correct.
Nice.
Let me say it as it is.
Trying to be nice.
We are replacing shemejis.
No, shemeji all the way.
Mali tumefika, you're not giving us value. Unaona?
Yeah.
Mali tulikuwa tunaingia kwa kiwanja tumebeba fish, si tumebeba kuku, tunapitana mbele, nani anakula ya mwingine. You know, there's nothing, hakuna ni drums tu mnapiga but
visikuti.
Hakuna nakutingisha mabega.
But I think
we'll be replacing you, but sasa watu wa Arsenal are on another level altogether.
Please.
That's where Victor and Regina
draw the line.
We go on divergent paths.
We are special. We are special. And Arteta says that, you know, there is no hope lost. We're still moving on. Much as we are position 9 on the log of the English Premier League.
Sema, rudia. Position?
We are
9 and still supports the team, regardless.
But when we improved, they were position 12.
Man, we were doing badly. You know, Arteta came in and he had to have that kind of, you know...
From player, let me give Doreen some kidogo history. From player to coach.
Yes.
Endelea.
Arteta had to come in to Arsenal and bring his first 11 team. He had to gel with the team. He had to make sure that he brings all the tactics, because Arsenal, we are always known for what we call sexist football.
Pass.
Exactly, tic-tac, until mpaka huko.
Munashindwa kuingiza ba. Unajua hakuna haja ya. You woo someone, you woo them, unampeleka hapa, pale, hapa,
and then
pale.
all of a sudden, date kapish kaboom. That's like...
Yani hakuna ba. What was the point?
Some of us who are in these teams by association, we just
okay, can you leave our Arsenal alone, please? Can you leave Arsenal alone?
Arsenal, muko na nguvu, muko na roho.
Yeah.
I think you deserve a special place in heaven.
We do.
Yeah.
But the good thing about English Premier League is that it's quite a competitive league, that, you know, you can win a league this season and next year you find yourself somewhere in position 8 or 9, because every team, they mutate.
Now, unfortunately, Arsenal has not mutated from losses. Now, talking about the local scene, when you talk about the Tokyo Olympics, is that Kenya launched 100 days countdown to the Tokyo Games, and Barclay Feather has a detailed report in regard to what Kenya's Tokyo team is going to be showcasing there. 100 days countdown to the Tokyo Games. Here's a detailed report.
All athletes heading to Japan for the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games have received the first vaccination, with the second expected a few weeks before their trip to Japan for the Games to be held from the 23rd of July to 8th of August. The vaccination process for the other sportsmen and women is ongoing, and Cabinet Secretary for Sports Ambassador Amina Mohamed says that vaccine is hope for resumption of sporting activities in the country.
There's always hope. There's always hope, depending on the numbers, the trend that we see with the pandemic, and how the virus will behave in our country. You know, I think that you've had my colleagues from the Ministry of Health talk about the surge that happened. The numbers seem to be kind of stabilizing, but they're still too high. And so we'll be looking to them for leadership, for guidance on when they think it's safe to actually start gradually opening up the sporting space.
As the 100 days countdown for the Olympic Games begin, National Olympic Committee of Kenya has set a target of sending a squad of more than 90 athletes to Japan, in addition to other players of other disciplines including rugby and volleyball, who have already qualified for the Games postponed from last year.
We are counting down now when it comes to 100 days to the Olympics. It is very difficult, all of us. We have had a lot of challenges in terms of this pandemic that has been with us. It only takes a very strong mind to be able to cope, both mentally and emotionally, because it has not been easy to everyone.
The volleyball team will be assessed by foreign coaches from the International Volleyball Federation before heading to Brazil on the 1st of May for a camp that precedes the pre-Olympic camp in Japan.
The International Volleyball Federation is sending to Kenya 4 high-performance coaches. We expect them to arrive this Friday. These coaches will be in Kenya for about 10 days, what they are calling the scoping visit, to come and assess the condition of our team. Thereafter, these coaches will fly to Brazil to prepare to receive this team. The team will be in Brazil, residential training camp, high performance training camp for 6 weeks.
More than 80 athletes have qualified for the Games, with the women getting a lion's share of the slots. In the last edition of the Olympic Games held in Rio, Brazil in 2016, Kenya finished 15th on the medal table with 13 medals, 6 gold, 6 silver and a single bronze medal.
As we prepare in the 100 days towards the Tokyo Olympic Games, we wish our team, made up of sportsmen and women, all the best. Now, I'm reliably informed by some Manchester United fan there by the name of Jackson Kihara. He says that to remind all Manchester United fans that we have they have a game with Granada tonight, so make a date. Tuachane na mambo ya Arsenal hapo. Tuachane na mambo ya Arsenal for that. And also all those who have been watching, I'm seeing we're having a lot of feedback on Twitter. Maybe I can read one or two there. Mohia Wabima says, adding taxes to fuel, you technically add the prices of everything because transportation is a serious factor of every production. Then, who else here? People are keeping on liking. So remember, we are live and we really appreciate your feedback wherever it is that you're watching Good Morning Kenya from. We continue saying that, yes, this is the best way to kickstart your morning all the way Monday through Thursday. Kiplangat Kituru there saying, Ruaka Nairobi, Kenya is watching live, wishing you a happy and blessed brand week full of God's favor. Someone is also requesting that to increase time. They say by the time the panelist or discussion appears on Twitter, the program is over. Can we be live even on Twitter? Well, Amani Mimi who is slow. Well, I don't know if you're the one who is slow, but we start off streaming live on Facebook as well as on our website and on YouTube there as early as 7 a.m. when the program begins or rather commences. Thank you very much for keeping us company, but we are not done. We like saying that Thursday is the new Friday here on Good Morning Kenya. So, well, we have so much in store for you, but for details in regard to those stories that have been making headlines in the last 24 hours, you can visit our website, that is www.kbc.co.ke. I'm Regina Manyara, and I wish you a pleasant viewing ahead.
My name is Victor Lo. Remember, it's raining. Panda mti, if you can.
Ati wapande nini?
Wapande mti.
Wapande miti?
Pande miti, yes.
Aye.
Have some time and plant some trees.
Well,
I think it sounded better in English.
Yes. Plant some trees. It will help you the next 7 or 10 years to come. You will appreciate. So start today.
All right, we are now done with the program, so we still have plenty more after this break.
kwaria no kwedo menye gai ni mwega. Remember the more they talk, the more they make you feel mad. You don't need a jesso. You don't need a jesso. You don't need a jesso. Moro wanga you wanna jesso. You wanna jesso. You wanna jesso.
More like a party in the studio this Thursday. You know how we do it on Thursday, easy, light, entertainment Thursday. Vic pale nyuma ya kamera alikuwa tu anakatika kwa hii, you know, this song. But on set, I'm joined by Caroline Muthoni, the artist behind that particular song. What we want to discuss with her this morning is just basically her music journey and also how she is using the digital space to continue furthering promoting her music. Given the fact that we know that right now, you know, with the containment measures, things are not happening per se, especially for those in the entertainment sector. Caroline, yes. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Uko sawa?
Thank you for having me. Yes.
Just relax, easy, cheer up, nothing intense.
Yes.
Okay. Tuanze na muziki yako. Kwanza unaimba wimbo, you know, using the Kikuyu language, which is not what you would see most artists perhaps doing, because most we want to get for maybe the bigger population, watu wengi waweze kuisikia, but wame decide kufanya specifically using that particular language. Why so? Nini haswa kikakufanya useme mimi sasa kama Carol, I think nataka kuimba muziki tu na Kikuyu?
Hata tu niseme wakati nilianza sikuwa na mtu anaweza niambia, unaona, sikuwa na mtu naweza angalia juno. Wakati most of the time when unaanza you don't have somebody hata kushikilia or anything like that, so unaingianga tu kivyako, unaenda tu kwa ndani ndio unajua. So for me I sang in Kikuyu because Mungu alikuwa amenisaidia na hizo nyimbo as per that time. So unajua God ana speakianga mtu, so I had the first ones I wrote them in Kikuyu, but I also have the others that I've written in Swahili and also in English, but I felt at that time I needed just to do them in Kikuyu. Yeah.
So what you're saying is that you didn't have a mentor?
Yeah, I just nilingia tu hivyo.
Vile tu unasikia the Holy Spirit has spoken to you, or what God has spoken to you about. So when was this ukianza muziki?
Oh, nilianza kuimba nikiwa mdogo, but I didn't know that ilikuwa talent. I didn't know ati ni passion. I just loved singing. Ningeenda kwa parade naimbisha, but I didn't know. So but wakati nimekuja kujua that naweza imba, nimekuja kujua wakati nimefika class 6. That's when I wrote my first song, na ndio hiyo iko pale but sijaiweka kwa YouTube though, but inaimbwa I know who is God. Huyu ni Mungu. Nilikuwa nataka kujua huyu Mungu ni nani, because wakati mwingine unaambiwa huyu Mungu but you can't just uelewi vizuri. So I wrote that song asking myself who is this God, because si mtu utaona, you know. So that's when nilianza nikaandika hiyo song ikiwa the first one, and then from there Mungu akaenda akinisaidia kupata nyimbo zingine. Yes.
That was in class 6, but professionally, when was it?
Oh, professionally niliimba 2016. That is when niliweza kurecord, because you know pia kwa hii journey there is a lot. So during that duration nilikuwa give up, nikasema like I don't want to do this music because I didn't have the money first, and then secondly hata yani kuna a lot too. So
there's a lot which we'll get into in a short while, but that was in 2016, so at least it means that you've been in the industry for about 5 years. Na hapo awali ulikuwa umesema that one of the challenging things that you felt ulikuwa na experience was mostly that you didn't have a mentor. So venye ulianza hapo professionally, did you finally get a mentor? Because again, hiyo ni issue kubwa sana ya wasanii wa kisasa, wasahizi. Lack of someone to guide them, to kuonesha, you know, you're supposed to perhaps write music like this, compose like this, do things this way. Finally, did you get someone, and maybe imekuwa vipi for you?
Yes, nilipata, mmekuwa kinishikilia. He's my husband. Ni yeye akiwa mentor, amenishikilia, na kunisupport sana kwa maombi. Yes.
Okay, that's beautiful. At least finally you have someone that you know and understand what you're doing and can lead you and guide you through.
Yes.
So 5 years down, but you're only seeing 2 songs which you have recorded, released. Why so? Is it the inconsistency bit? What is so challenging about being a female artist?
No, naweza sema for the last 5 years sijakuwa there is just a lot, like nimejipata in a space where marketing ni shida, so unatoa hizo song, you invest a lot but haupati hiyo space na market. Unaona, lazima like for me, I've been singing in churches, I've been singing kwa weddings, like kwenda rallies like that, but sasa unapata kuna 2 challenges because huwezi release song tu, wakati mwingine una release your song like 50,000 shillings, unaona. So mpaka pesa is also a factor, pia inachangia kukua sijaweza kutoa songs venye consistently. Yes.
So mara mingi tukiongea about especially consistency ya female artists, no mara mingi unapata unasema female artists are not as consistent per se. And some would say it's because as a woman, as a female, there's so many things that you're doing around which is just minus the challenging bit of it. So for you, aside from your challenging factor, which is the cash, which again also cuts across to almost every artist, what else has also been so challenging for you as a female artist in terms of consistency na release songs here and there?
Let me say, me after nilitoa hiyo wimbo, I got a family.
Okay.
So for me, that's why children are coming, and then now so that hiyo ikakuwa another thing all around. So ndio nimekuwa for that time nimekuwa tu naimba, so consistent sijakuwa nayo vile. Yes.
Okay. All right, when we return, we come back to explore more about that digital space and how Carol has been using this to further her music. So stay with us. We'll be back in a bit.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye Quickbit ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitizama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka, kwenye Quickbit ni bila bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini. Malaria ni ugonjwa hatari sana unaoua watu wengi hapa Kenya. Japo kuko na corona, hatari ya malaria bado iko. Mtoto huyu alikuwa na joto jingi, kutetemeka, kuumwa na viungo na uchovu. Alikimbizwa hospitali ya umma ambako sheria za COVID-19 huzingatiwa na ni salama kwa shughuli ya upimaji. Vipimo vilionyesha kuwa ana malaria, na papo hapo daktari akampa dawa za malaria na kumshauri azimalize, na ili kujikinga wawe wakilala ndani ya neti iliyotibiwa. Malaria husambazwa na mbu. Walio hatarini ni watoto wa chini ya miaka 5 na akina mama wajawazito. Kupimwa na kutibiwa ni bure katika hospitali zote za umma. Usisahau adui malaria. Zero malaria huanza na mimi. Chukua jukumu leo. Komesha malaria. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na Wizara ya Afya. Next on.
Go. Easy. Did you do anything tonight? Umesemaga leo ni kujitawala.
Leo ni siku yetu.
Inakaaje? Utajili?
Unakaa poa na hiyo jacket ya wenyewe. You're in as deep as I am.
This time you're serious about me, down.
don't know about you, Glenn, but I'm not going to jail for any reason whatsoever.
Neither am I.
So either you let me in, or tell Tiffany I need to see her right now.
Come on. Nini inaendelea?
Welcome back, and many thanks for staying with us. We continue with the program. We're still continuing with our entertainment segment this morning. On set, I'm joined by Caroline. And before we went on break, we talked about the inconsistency of female artists. Na unapata pia watu wengi wanasema female artists are not consistent rather. Na umetupatia an example at least of you. So do you feel like we need to get to a space where as a society tuache blame female artists, saying that they're not consistent because wanakuja wanatoa muziki like 2021, tunaona in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years. Una feel in that perspective?
Yeah, na feel there's no hakuna any banya tu mwanaume anaweza fanya, a lady can do even better. Yeah, ni zile tu unapata kama sasa this season ya COVID they have just been a lot. Kama hizi zimeaffect watu because kama church there is no going church, na pia there is no kwenda places hizi za kama kwenda Koji market. Yeah, so for me I feel there's no anything like kusema women are not hawana consistent.
So there's nothing like
hiyo ni tu kusema. Yeah, I just feel like hiyo ni kusema tu yeah.
Okay, you talked about your first song, but ile nimeona pale YouTube ni Nido Nirejesu.
Yes.
Tuambie a bit about that song. What was the idea, concept behind that song?
Hiyo song inamaanisha nimeona Mungu. So I wrote that song because nilikuwa zingine ni vitu nimepitia, and then unapata sometimes marafiki. You know that song niliandika nikiwa form 3. Unapata uko na rafiki but wanakupenda wakati there is something they can get from you. So that's when your song ilikuja, that I've gotten a friend ama rafiki that is Jesus, because Jesus haniangalii venye niko, haangalii what I have. His love is genuine. That is why niliandika hiyo song. Yes.
Okay. Then what goes into your mind wakati you are composing songs, because this is not the only song, you still have another one, Thimika.
Yes.
Yeah. Like what goes into your thought process? Watu wengine watasema, for me it's just an inspiration from God. I read the word. Others, I just look at what is happening around. So for you, kama msanii as an artist, how is your creative process?
For me, napendanga sana kusoma Biblia. So when nikisoma Biblia, zingine ni vitu nimepitia. So from there, ama vitu watu around me wanapitia. So that's when unapata tu Mungu when I read the word, the song comes. Like hiyo Thimika nimeitoa kwa Bible, kwa Zakaria 2. That's where I got that song, because Thimika means wewe si wa kupimwa, yani you cannot be measured, because many of the times watu wanakupima, like they say huwezi fika wapi, school wise huwezi fanya nini, career wise huwezi nini, because kama binadamu kuna tu vitu they want to put measures on you, but that song ikakuja like yani Mungu hawezi acha upimike if unajuana na yeye. He'll always go before you, he'll always take you to greater heights. Yeah, so hapo ndio mimi upatanga inspiration zangu na vitu around mimi, vitu zinafanyika na vitu as a person nime go through. Yes.
Okay, then which song yenye umeandika is as a result of vitu ume go through as a person? That actually reminds you, by the way, there was a point nilikuwa kwa hii, I had this problem, and because of ABC and because what God did, at least I was able to come out of that. Which song is that?
I would say hiyo Thimika, because
Inakukumbusha of what exactly?
Inanikumbushanga tu kwa vitu nimepitia. Kila mtu ako na kastori kake as a testimony.
Yeah,
so there was once nilikuwa naishi na watu and you go like that, unapata una food, wakati mwingine unafukuzwa. So for me ndio maana nilikuwa najitia song, that's why I wrote that song. Because I went through a lot of challenges, nilikuwa shule by then, and then unapata inconvenience mingi tu. So that's why nikaandika hiyo song, nikajiambia for me nilikuwa najiongelesha nikijiambia like mimi sio wa kupimwa. So every time nikisikizanga hiyo song, si hata inahubiria kwanza mtu mwingine, it's me the first person, because ni kitu nime go through na naji-encourage nayo. Alafu pia mimi upendanga ku-encourage watu with what I've been going through na what naona around, na kuambia that God is the only way. Because me nimeona akinitoa kwa situation mingi. Yes, but hizo tu ni kutaja some of them, but there is just a lot.
So clearly for you it's just, you know, the Bible, your life experiences, na pia what you're seeing around you, also what people are going through.
Yes.
So that does it mean that you know your style is just singing in that Kikuyu style, ama you might want to diversify, perhaps do English, Swahili? Which one is yours?
I would not say ati I would nitaishi kufanya Kikuyu, because I also have some songs ni venye I have not recorded, but I'm on the process. They are Kiswahili, they are English. So I don't want to be in a space yenye nitakuwa limited. Yes, I want to reach as many, because that is my calling. I want to reach as many people as possible, even worldwide. Yeah, that's my name.
So then how would you describe your style? Unasema style yako ya muziki ni gani?
Style yangu,
worship, praise.
No, for me, I love both of them. Because hata wakati naimbisha church, when I praise, I feel ndio vizuri. I can go even into worship. So I'm not limited. Niseme like I want to yani nikuwe tu kwa praise. Yeah, mi na kama ni praise na praise, hata nimeandika not only these two, but kuna zingine 4 I've not put them in YouTube. Yeah, ziko tu kwa hiyo album. Yes, so I wouldn't say that I love worship or what. Whatever God ananitumia nayo, if it's praise, I praise. Wakati mwingine I feel to worship, I worship.
So we can say that for you it's just that kind of diversified style. Whatever comes in that moment, that is what you go with.
Yes.
All right. Then in terms of support, unapata sana wasanii wengi, especially those in the music space, they will say, for me, I really didn't get that support that I needed. That is why sijafika perhaps penye nimefika. And we all know how important it is, especially from those that are close to your family. You know, if it's a mom, dad, a spouse, whichever. For you, support system ilikuwa vipi as you are beginning doing music professionally?
I would say wakati nilianza kuimba, my parents walikuwa wameni support from the beginning until sasa when nikamaliza form 4. That's when I went to the studio alone. I didn't tell them, and then one of my friend akanirekodia, he had a studio, akanirekodia hii ni donire tu bado jeso, and nikakuja nayo tu nikaiweka kwa simu. And after that I told myself like, hey, hii kitu ni expensive, unajua yeye alinitolea tu bure. So because he was my friend and he saw what I had. So from hapo my dad siku moja akasikia hiyo song ikiwa kwa simu yangu, and that's when my dad told me that he would like, akaniuliza what would you like, kama hii music unataka kwa nini hujafanya hii music, ama ni shida ni gani? So that's when I opened up and I told him, nilienda studio and I did this, but pesa ndio a lot. Yeah, that is another thing. So he told me how much, and then I told him, and then my parents sasa wakani support, and then that's when nikakuwa nime-release hiyo song kama hiyo album.
That is beautiful. Like you wouldn't hear such from, you know, artists saying that, for me, my dad or my mom asked me, how much do you need for for shooting this video or for doing this song? So for you, how did it make you feel knowing that the people that are very close to you, this is mom, dad, your close, you know, family members, are so much in support kenye unataka kufanya?
Hey, for me, nashukuru tu Mungu, because that support was overwhelming. Yes, because my dad tried to reach people, but they didn't come through for us. So the next thing was, he said, we will do it. However much it will cost us, we'll have to do it. Yeah, because my dad took even a loan. And then,
wow, just for your music?
Yes, because he had seen the passion that I had.
Hey, that is huge. Your dad took a loan just for your music?
Yes.
Wow. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
All right. You earlier on mentioned of the importance of mentorship. You mentioned the importance of at least soak yourself, especially as a gospel artist, soaking yourself in the word, just to listen to also what God says. Like kwa mtazamo wako, unaona kama wasanii wengi sana wa gospel were this moment, were this time, that is one thing that they lack, because you would hear a lot of people complaining, saying that gospel ya saizi haina content. It's unlike what we used to hear or what we had back in the day.
Ni ukweli, because unapata mtu anaamka tu one day anaenda ana hata any idea, anaenda studio tu anafanya kitu tu wenye anafikiria, but no, when you have somebody mwenye anakuonyesha unaanza hapa, this is what you do, tuombe, you know, at least hiyo ni better. Yeah, alafu unajua pia huo mentor atakusaidia like hata kukuonyesha. Unaona kama mimi venye nilianza, I didn't even know hizi mambo na studio. Unaenda utapata unakoniwa, utaenda unakoniwa. Yeah, there's just a lot, but ukiwa na mtu mwenye anakushikilia better. Yes.
Okay, what about collabos? Anything we are expecting from you? Ama which persons would you want to collab with, and perhaps why?
Kuna waimbaji napenda kama Masimasika. Kuna ni kadhaa, siwezi wa mention wote because napenda mpaka Guardian Angel. Those are some of the people ninaweza taka tu kufanya collab nao. That if wakati wa Mungu.
Okay, wakati like Guardian Angel song.
Yes.
All right, as we draw the conversation to a close, Carol, what's next for you kama msanii?
Sahi niko na nyimbo nimerecord, and sasa sahi I want to go on na nianze kuzirecord, because saizi my mind now ime open, because I have now a lot of friends wenye wanasema like, you singing well but we can't hear. No, so I want to do more of Swahili song, more of English song, ndio niweze kureach as more people as God would want me to. Yes.
Okay. That's a beautiful way to bring the conversation to a close, reaches more people as the Lord would want you to, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I leave you with Carol's latest song. Take a look.
hajaumba kibovu. Mungu aliye juu kwa wagonjwa tabibu. Wengine wanasema hayuko, wengine wanasema ni story, wengine wanasema hawajui nini kinachoendelea. Mungu ndo mkuu, hajaumba kibaya. Mungu aliye juu kwa wagonjwa tabibu. Jipendekeze na Mungu, usiingie kiburi. Jua ushuhudia, neno la Mungu itabaki. Jipendekeze na Mungu, usiingie kiburi. Jua ushuhudia, neno la Mungu itabaki. Nimpende nani kama si Yesu? Niende kwa nani kama si Yesu? Mengi masaibu yamenionyesha mambo mengi, atarahisisha shida zangu. Ukilegeza moyo wako, matendo yako yamvutie Mungu. Mungu ndo mkuu.
All right. And there it is. You're still continuing with, the program. We are not yet done. We are just on that last part before we actually get to call it a day. Being Thursday, today is day 4 of those ongoing interviews. This is the interviews of the Judicial Service Commission, which is actually going to be the turn of Honorable Judge Marete Njagi.
Yes.
But before you even go further, we just want to have a little conversation based on what happened yesterday when Justice Koome appeared before the commissioners there. And what really came out strongly, aside from that 2017 judgment, there was also the fact that marriage is not a passport to marriage, not passport to property rights. Yes, simply means if we get married today, what I had made before we got married is mine. And what you had made before we got married is yours. So at the point in which we meet, what we will make together is now what we begin to call ours. Vic, based on what the justice said yesterday before the panel, what is your take? What do you think?
Justice Martha Koome, actually, whatever she said is quite controversial. And
Really?
it's raised a lot of concern and a lot of questions. Because one, if you and I, for example, get married today, and then perhaps you started working, you started having your acts right at the age of, before even 20, all right? And then you get married at the age of 25, 26, or even 30-something. What happens? Whatever the judge said, that belongs to you. Whatever I have belongs to me. But you can use the wealth that you accumulated before you get married for the betterment of your family. All right? You can have it for the betterment of your family. In fact, according to me, you can use whatever you accumulated before you got married, all right, to build your spouse, or you can use this for the betterment of them. If you have got kids, you can use the wealth that you accumulated for you to build your family. And that's the problem, because you find that most people say that whatever, okay, when you get married, if you have got rentals, if you have got a fleet of PSVs, whatever you have, now that belongs to us now because we are married.
Yeah.
Well, these are worldly acquired property. So if I worked for something, according to the judge, whatever you worked for, that belongs to you. We got married just, for example, a month ago. I'm at the age of 39, 40. How does it start becoming yours and we just got married just last month? And I started working at the age of 19. You get it?
Vic, and just to interject, and I think that is where most problems begin. Okay, I'm in agreement also for, you know, from that fact, because then again, you'd realize that sometimes some people would just want to get married because of what this person has or what I stand to gain just by being married to this person, not because of all that it's marriage is supposed to mean to them. But again, also on the flip side, I mean, don't you think this is part of what make marriages fail? Because the moment it starts to become, we got married, yes, about a year ago, but the moment it starts to become, this is mine because I got it before I met you, and this is yours because you got it before you met me. I mean, can there be a way in which you can consolidate, perhaps come together? Because as it is, we are already together.
That's the point. But the question is, you know, the whole of this conversation is probably meant to deter people from getting married for all the wrong reasons. Even men, some of them get married to particular ladies because of whatever they have. You understand? So if you fall in love with someone genuinely, not because of what I have, not because of what you have. But as you said, use whatever you have. You can consolidate, bring whatever you had, bring whatever I have, and then now we put them together for the betterment of the family. For example, I bought this pen today.
Yeah.
The following moment, we go to the AG and get married. Since when did it start becoming ours?
Because we just got married.
Who said? I bought it. This is mine. I went to the street and I bought this pen.
All right.
And then we went to the AG the next minute to get married. So it becomes ours. The only question you'll ask, kalamu yako.
Oh my God, it's just an interesting situation.
So I think it just raises that concern that moving forward, people should get married for all the good intentions.
And the right reasons.
For all the right reasons. If you love someone, even if you don't have anything, you can work together, all right? Consolidate, work together. In fact, be happy and be part of the process. That, you know, we met, as they say, we had nothing, we worked. This is the procedure, this is the process, this is how far we've come.
And this is where we are.
This is where we are today. You'll be part of the process, and even you as a wife or as a husband, you'll be happy just looking back and said, you know, tulitoka huko. That's where we've come from, this is where we are. Because of our hard work, we saved, we denied ourselves a lot of luxury and all those things. This is where we are today. Now that is what you can say, this belongs to us. But as a wife or as a husband, before you meet, you worked for it. When you meet now, when you get married, perhaps out of your willingness, you can say, I'm bringing this on board, and I'm going to give, we are going to be part and parcel of this family now, willingly. But I don't think I should push, or nobody should push the other party to share. You don't know how I acquired it in the first place.
And I think, Vic, just based on what Justice Kome mentioned yesterday as marriage not being, you know, that gateway to acquiring properties, just basically based on the same kind of statement that you're also trying to at least push for, that at least we need to get to a point where people understand also the importance of marriage. Because again, you realize in our generation where we're living at this moment, it's like, it's sort of like we have lacked those values. So in as much as, yes, it could have drawn a lot of conversations online, you know, people trying to understand it from a different perspective, but I think it just the whole bottom line is that we value this institution of marriage, not looking at it as a, you know, something that is like an escape route for me leaving poverty altogether, or an escape
where
route
you
for
me to transfer all your tribulations and all your problems
to
someone,
one person, and regardless of the gender, by the way, it could be male, it could be female, you know.
Exactly. So I think Martha Koome opened that that lead. And it's something that is going to raise a lot of questions. And it gives you and I that opportunity now to start looking at the real essence of marriage. The real reason why. In fact, the Bible says that it was the institution, that's the first institution that God created. Adam did not have the wealth. Everything was in the Garden of Eden for all of them to enjoy. All right. So Yeah,
And
if you want to settle down,
yeah,
now you know what the law says. You'll not come around and start saying that this is ours.
This is ours.
Martha Koome helped us.
Yeah, so Vic, we now want to finish, our conversations this morning on Thursday, and we will be heading over to the Supreme Court, right?
Absolutely. Today is the 4th day. We are heading to Marete Njagi. Is going to face the panel today, and of course, he is the second gentleman. The first one was on Monday. On Tuesday and Wednesday, yesterday, we had 2 lady justices doing their bit, and with the last one being Justice Martha Koome yesterday. And today we have got Marete Njagi, who is going to face the panel of the JSC. And of course, the interviews continues until part of next week, until April 30th, because they're also looking for candidates to fill the position of the Supreme Court, as well as the Chief Justice. So the only place to get to have a live feed is here, KBC, from 9 a.m. sharp.
All right, and even as you wait for that link to be ready, just as Vic mentioned, this is the place to be, because we'll continue to cover that up for you with what is happening at the Judicial Service Commission in regards to these interviews that are ongoing, today being day 4. We expect this to continue up till next week on Friday. But for now, this is how we bring Good Morning Kenya to a close. From me on behalf of the entire team, we say thank you so much for watching, right, Vic?
All right, we say till next week. Yes. It's closing day. Yeah. Uritiuru, as we say in French. Bye-bye.
Good morning.
Je, umeomoka? Kama hujaomoka kwenye Quickbit ndio mambo yote. Hapa tuko na fridge, kodi yake ni CM. Tuko na gas cooker, kodi yake ni CK. Tuko na TV, kodi yake ni TV. Tuko na simu aina ya Samsung ni SM, ama Oppo ni Oppo. My friend, mahali popote unanitazama, eka hizo kodi zake kisha utume kwa 4032353. 4032353. Alafu utakuwa unaomoka na hizi bidhaa. Kumbuka, kwenye Quickbit ni bila bora zaidi kwa bei ya chini kwa chini.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii lazima nishike kwa simu yako, bonyeza *811*962 hash.
Lazima nishike mapema. Nisiposhika hii simu mapema utakasirika. Acha mimi nikiwa mtu wa marathon na niko na experience kabisa. Niko na experience. If you don't hurry, you will not break the record. Okay, acha nishike hii simu.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii bonyeza *811*962 hash, *811*962 hash. Malaria ni ugonjwa hatari sana unaoua watu wengi hapa Kenya. Japo kuko na corona, hatari ya malaria bado iko. Mtoto huyu alikuwa na joto jingi, kutetemeka, kuumwa na viungo na uchovu. Alikimbizwa hospitali ya umma ambako sheria za COVID-19 huzingatiwa na ni salama kwa shughuli ya upimaji. Vipimo vilionyesha kuwa ana malaria, na papo hapo daktari akampa dawa za malaria na kumshauri azimalize, na ili kujikinga wawe wakilala ndani ya neti iliyotibiwa. Malaria husambazwa na mbu. Walio hatarini ni watoto wa chini ya miaka 5 na akina mama wajawazito. Kupimwa na kutibiwa ni bure katika hospitali zote za umma. Usisahau adui malaria. Zero malaria huanza na mimi. Chukua jukumu leo. Komesha malaria. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na Wizara ya Afya.
Tonight on KBC Channel 1.
Without their permission, without their blessings, no good deed can ever be successful.
Dad now belongs to the Greeks.
The throne of Magad is waiting for you.
The mother wasn't from a royal family. She was the daughter of a physician only. I am trying to protect your honor here, and you are speaking ill about my mother.
You are staining my mother's character!
Next on.
Yapo mambo manne ambayo Muislamu anapata kunufaika nayo ndani ya mwezi mtukufu wa Ramadhani.
Mtume sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wasallam
aliwaonesha masahaba zake namna ambavyo kwamba Ramadhani yao inastahili kuwa.
Next on.
Go. Easy. Did you do anything tonight?
Umesemaga leo ni kujitawala.
Leo ni siku yetu.
Inakaaji utajili.
Unakaa poa na hiyo jacket ya wenyewe. You're in as deep as I am.
This time you're seriously going down.
I don't know about you, Glenn, but I'm not going to jail for any reason whatsoever.
Neither am I.
So either you let me in, or tell Tiffany I need to see her right now.